The police sirens were still echoing through Maple Ridge Estates when I looked up from my perfectly legal post hole to see 3 squad cars. Pulling into our cul-de-sac, I kept my hands visible and my movements slow as the officers approached their faces, showing that mix of confusion and mild annoyance. And Seth, it comes with responding to what they already suspected was a ridiculous call. Behind him, standing on her pristine concrete driveway with her arms crossed and a smug expression plastered across her face was Patricia Greenwood, the self-appointed queen of our gated community and president of the Maple Ridge HOA. 5 minutes earlier, I had been enjoying a peaceful Saturday morning installing a simple flagpole holder next to my mailbox. Now I was watching $1 for million estate get slapped with a bright orange Duna Occupanatus by county officials who had derved right behind the police. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a shovel, the same shovel Patricia had just tried to get me arrested for using. Get me back up and explain how we gathered 3 weeks ago. My wife and I had finally closed on our dream home in Maple Ridge Estates, one of those exclusive gated communities where the houses start at $2 million and the HOFIs cost more than most people's rent. Everything was perfect, manicured lawns, pristine sidewalks, and neighbors woefully picked up their dog waste. The only fly in the ointment was Patricia Greenwood, a woman who seemed to have appointed herself as the neighborhood patrol officer. I first met Patricia during our move-in day when Shaw marched across the street with a clipboard full of HOA regulations and a smile that never reached her eyes. Shoa's probably in her mid-50s with a kind-off aggressive politeness that screamed, "I will make your life miserable if you step out of line." She informed me that all exterior modifications required home approval, all landscaping changes needed comment review, and absolutely no work could be done on Sundays because I disturbed the tranquil ambience. 04 community. The flagpole incident started innocently enough. I wanted to display my American flag properly, so I researched the exact specifications for residential flagpole installation, checked county permits, reviewed the community covenants, and even called the city planning office to confirm I was following all regulations. Everything was in order. The pole would be 8 feet tall, positioned 5 feet from the property line, installed with proper concrete footings. I had my permits, my measurements, and my weekend free that Saturday morning. I had barely broken ground when Patricia came storming across the street like a woman possessed. She was wearing one of those velour tracksuits that cost more than most people's cars and had her hair done up in that aggressive bob cut that middle women use as a weapon. Her face was already red with indigestion. She even reached my driveway. "Excuse me," she said, though her tone suggested she wasn't asking for anything. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" I looked up from my post hole and smiled, installing a flagpole. "Patricia, beautiful morning for it, don't you think?" Her eyes narrowed like a hawk spotting a field mouse. "Did you get HOA approval for this unauthorized excavation?" He couldn't help but chuckle at her language. "Unauthorized excavation, Patricia. It's a post hole and I have all the proper permits." I gestured to the folder sitting on my bird steps. "County permits, property survey, the works. Everything's complete illegal." But Patricia wasn't interested in legality. She was interested in truth. HOA covenant clearly states that all exterior modifications require board approval. You should have submitted Form to 7A at least 30 days in advance. Now I had read those covenants cover to cover, and while they were ridiculously detailed, they didn't actually prohibit flagpoles. In fact, there was a specific clause protecting homeowners' rights to display the American flag. But Patricia had that look in her eyes that told me facts weren't going to matter. I said calmly, "I've reviewed the covenants. Flagpoles are specific caliper under Section 12 subsection. Could you like me to show you?" Her face went from red to purple. "Don't you dare tree to lawyer me, young man. I've been president of this HOA for 8 years and I know these rules better than anyone else." When things took a turn for the absurd, Patricia pulled out her phone and started dialing 911. All while maintaining eye contact with me like she was about to report a murder in progress. He heard her speaking to the dispatcher in that theatrical voice people use when they want to sound like the victim. "Yes, I need police at Maple Ridge Estates immediately. My neighbor is conducting Gunathos excavation work and refusing to comply with community. He's being very aggressive and I'm concerned for my safety." I almost laughed out loud at that last part. I was standing in my own driveway, holding Asmel gardening shovel and speaking in the same tone. I'd used to order coffee, but Patricia had committed to her performance and she was going to see through. The police arrived about 10 minutes later, 3 cars which seemed adhesive for a post hole violation. I watched Patricia march over to the lead officer, gesturing wildly at my tin excavation site. Like I had opened a portal to the underworld. The officer, a patient-looking man named Sergeant Rodriguez, listened to her dramatic explanation before walking over to speak with me. "Sir, we received a call about some kind of property dispute. Mind if I ask what you're working on here?" I showed him my permits, explained the flagpole installation, and even offered to demonstrate that the post hole was entirely on my property, and well, within legal parameters. Sergeant Rodriguez examined everything with the thoroughness of someone who had clearly dealt with HOA drama before. "Everything looks in order to me," He said finally, "You've got your permits, you're on your own property, and frankly, this is more of a civil matter than a police issue." Patricia overheard this and came charging over like a bullseyeing red officer. "This man is violating community standards and showing complete respect for our neighborhood regulations. Surely you can't just ignore flagrant, rule-breaking Zergant." Rodriguez turned to her with kind of patient expression. "That police officer's perfect after years of dealing with ridiculous complaints, ma'am. Has all the proper permits and he's working on his own property. The whole dispute is between you and him. It's no criminal matter." But Patricia wasn't known. As the police cars pulled away, she stood in her driveway shooting daggers at me with her eyes. "This isn't over. Sheckled out. The HOA board meets Monday night, and we'll see how you feel about your little project." Then that threat turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me because it motivated him to do something I probably should have done the moment I moved into the neighborhood. I started researching Patricia Greenwood. It began in I wanted to understand exactly what authority the HOA actually had and what my rights were as a homeowner. But as I dug deeper into county records, property filings, and zoning maps, I started noticing some interesting discrepancies related to Patricia's on property. Patricia's estate was the crown jewel of Maple Ridge, a sprawling $4 million compound with a main house, Aguist house, and what appeared to be a small commercial building she used Asher home office. The property was absolutely stunning with professional gardens, a 3-car garage, and a pool area that belonged in a resort brochure. But something was off about the property records according to the original zoning maps from 15 years ago. The back portion of Patricia's lot theory, where her guest house now stood, was designated as protected wetlands, completely unbuildable due to environmental restrictions. Yet somehow a 1,500 square FT guest house had appeared there about 10 years ago. I spent my Sunday afternoon diving deeper into public records, and what I found was fascinating. The guest house had been built after Patricia submitted an environmental impact assessment claiming wetlands had been artificially created by a previous owner and posed no ecological significance. But when I cross-referenced that assessment with the original environmental surveys, something didn't add up. The signature on Patricia's environmental report belonged to a consultant named Dr. Amanda Fosterboat. When I looked up Dr. I discovered she had lost their professional license 3 years before Patricia's report was filed. In fact, Dr. Foster had been sanctioned by the State Environmental Board for falsifying wetlands assessments on multiple projects. This was getting interesting. I dug deeper and found that Patricia's property had been connected to the municipal sewer system through a custodian. Even though the wetlands designation should have prevented any new sewer connections, the septic and drainage systems for both her main house and guest house were routing wastewater directly through the protected wetlands area. By Monday morning, I had compiled a folder full of evidence that painted every different picture of Patricia's perfect estate. Her guest house be built on illegally developed wetlands, using forged land lists. Her septic system was potentially contaminating protected habitat, and her home office building had been constructed without any of the commercial permits that should have been required for business use in a residential zone. I could have confronted Patricia directly, but after watching her performance with the police, I knew she would just deny everything and try to turn it back on me. Instead, I decided to let the professionals handle it. I called the County Planning Commission and requested an appointment with their Environmental Compliance Department. The meeting was scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. I brought my folder of evidence and explained the situation to Jennifer Walsh, the senior environmental complaint officer. She listened patiently as I walked through the timeline of Patricia's